This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. I've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Hey, this is Lemon's Car Spotting. It's Nick and Jay. It's the program where we go onto Instagram. We find the photos that you have posted with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting, and we talk about them on this show. And there are winners. We pick the hooptiest, which is obvious, and the Lemons build, which is the car we want to see actually show up on a Lemons racetrack.
All right, let's see who's going to pick which. This hand, L, Lemons build. Go.
Stop. What do we do?
Perfectly matched.
What do we do? All right. I'll pick the Lemons build. You've got the hooptiest. Let's go. All right.
Not very hoopty, actually.
Well, let's see. It's a turbo.
I'm a big fan of these cars. I mean, they break and the transmissions collapse. Well, the subsequent generation, the Aisin gearbox explodes with alarming frequency. Ask me how I know.
Yeah, that sounds like a personal story.
Yeah, it is.
Well, I remember, I am old enough to remember when this car came out and it replaced the 240. And of course, everybody on the internet, which didn't exist at the time, said, "Why you ruin classic? This is front wheel drive. I never want one ever again." And of course, now this has become sort of a cult favorite of its own. So whatever, there you go.
I think what you mean is everyone who put message boards with little tear-off tags in a Berkeley coffee house said, "Why you ruin classic?"
Everyone who called into late night political talk radio was talking about it. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. All right, moving on. Oh man,
now we're getting somewhere.
I think to this day, at the time of filming, as they say, we have not seen a Maverick in Lemons. There have been a couple of teams that have threatened it, but
yeah, I think that's right. And the Maverick is kind of a car coming into its own. It's got good pony car styling.
Yeah.
Not as terrible as other American economy entries of its era.
Yeah.
Low bar. There is a dude in San Francisco on, it doesn't matter what street he's on. I drive by the car frequently. It is done up as an orange hugger, like a Boss 302 Maverick, big wheels, 19s or 20s. It's awesome. I see that car every day, and I think that is a good-looking car.
Yeah, it's one of those cars. Once Mustangs got to be somewhat collectible, these are like half the price, and it's the same damn car. So there's a certain follower that developed out of that, and I mean, I don't know. There's nothing worse about this car than there is compared to a Mustang.
Yeah, well, and frankly, like this car or a Mustang or a Tempo, I mean, it's a no-brainer right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're going to drive a bad Ford? Drive that bad Ford.
Indeed. Oh, man. We're into petty cash racing territory.
I was going to say the Steve McDaniel mobile, too.
Yeah. Well, the official car of, doomsday preppers and whatnot. Although, and I don't know if this is true, I've heard some people saying, these XJs have gotten real valuable now. I don't know if that means that they've gone from, $1,700 to $1,704, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's probably, I don't know either. I'm guessing this is one of the many, many cars right now that a really fantastic Radwood ready version is preposterously expensive.
Yeah.
Or you can get one that is 94% as good for like jump range.
Yeah. I think that's a reasonable assumption.
I have a friend who just bought an 80. He really wanted a classic pickup, which in his mind is an 86 Chevrolet 1-ton pickup truck. He paid $30,000 for that.
What?
Yeah, it's spectacular, but $30,000, which for a spectacular one, he asked me, well, how do I find this car? What's it worth? You start looking, spectacular mid-80s pickups, $30,000 all day long.
Yeah. I mean,
less than spectacular, $5,200.
And I guess then comes the question of what kind of person is the guy who wants to spend the extra 25 grand to get the window switches that aren't broken off. I don't know.
Well, but on the other hand, if you've got the extra 25 grand, why run around with broken windows?
Yeah, fair enough. One last note here. This is from Volvo Clearinghouse. He notes, you can't really see it in the picture, but apparently the windshield banner says Miss Vixen on it. So,
I like this car. I
like the whole vibe.
Yeah.
All right. Oh man. Speaking of Radwood.
Yeah. Well, gosh, what do we even say? This was the generation. Was this the generation? Maybe this is a little newer. Yeah, this is maybe one generation newer than my first Lemons car. Which your first Lemons car was a Corolla GTS. I know because it was a AE 88. So the first of the is that right? AE 92. First of the front drive Corolla GTS. Yeah. I know that because when the Craigslist ad popped up, I think you were out of town and you got to go look at this car. It's like a perfect Toyota that's been rear-ended by a freight train. And I went there and man, it was as advertised. Yeah. It's funny because I don't remember what kind of car it was, but I do remember it wasn't a freight train. It was a tow truck. The guy was sitting in a stoplight in a tow truck. Clang! Just push.
The visual results were about the same, I would say.
Yeah, that was a great car.
Yeah, fantastic car. Those days of Lemons, and my first Lemons car was a Mark II Golf. And after the first Lemons race, we're like, well, yeah, these cars are totally done. Push them into the ditch behind Altamont Speedway. And now we realize those were actually mint. They had 25 races left in them based on the level of cars that people are racing with now. Well, there you go. Ah, man.
A classic.
Yeah. Well, this has Gambler 500 written all over it.
Yeah, so, it really does. No, I'm liking everything about this car, particularly the fact that clearly the guy is using it as designed.
I had these Jeep steel wheels, these exact ones on my 1978 Toyota pickup. And I got to say, that was a hell of a combination because these are 15 by 6 or 7 or something, but they still have that sort of old 70s Toyota look, but with the extra beef of the larger diameter.
Really improved the handling of your 70s Toyota.
Yeah. It was, at that point, it was basically an aerial atom.
Yeah.
So this is from Philicon, who is of course Philip von Feitershausen, well-known German and Lemons racer and bitter owner, a man with taste, clearly.
Yeah, there you go. Guy with a good eye.
Yeah.
Generic. What
Valiant?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's sort of interesting that all of these kind of McNamara era economy-ish American cars of this period, they all look exactly the same.
Yeah.
If you can't see the grill or the rear end, I mean, what is it?
Well, and that's
American Motors. It can't quite be a Studebaker. It could be a Ford product. It could be a Chrysler product. Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah, I was just this morning reading an article about why all cars today look the same, which, kind of smacks of the old, all music today sounds the same. Yeah. But if you go back, some of those same tendencies still existed in, the golden era.
Yeah.
This is exactly the kind of car, I will say, that if it were to show up at Lemons, people will say, well, that is a classic. Why did you ruin it?
Right.
I mean, look at it. It's so sad. It's just, this car is not worth anything. And
not a classic.
It would be so much more glorious to see it on a racetrack. So,
yeah. So I just want to add the idea of all cars look the same now. You know what era it is when all cars began to look the same? Whenever you reached your 50s, that's the era when all cars start to look the same. It has nothing to do with the cars.
Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment. I think it happened sooner for music because, boy, for me, music started all sounding the same when I was like 26.
Yeah, but you've always been about 3x your actual age.
That's also true. Yeah. It was the old BMW ownership early in life
Right.
that did that.
Right, exactly.
All right.
As an 18-year-old, you had to wear like a jacket with leather patches on the
Right.
elbow.
Exactly. Oh man. Hey, look at this.
God,
It's it's a well-loved Mitsubishi Gallant, clearly.
man. I rented, I was given at Avis Rental a Mitsubishi Outlander
Oh,
for the
Lord.
New Jersey Motorsports Park Race, which I
Yeah.
just got back from. How can one car company continue to make such incredibly bad vehicles? That thing was so bad in every possible way.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, at least this one, I will say
Yeah,
that it
this
looks
was from
cool.
when they were getting close to catching up with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, visually, I mean, what was this competing with? Is this a Camry competitor? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it looks way more distinctive and aggressive and sporty than a Camry.
Well,
But
the wheels on this one help a lot.
yeah. But other than that, boy, I'm sure it wasn't a good car. Comment down below if you have any direct experience with the Mitsubishi Gallant of this era.
Yeah, it was sad to watch them get so close to catching up with everybody else.
Yeah.
And then just basically tripped on the last hurdle and bit it, like ground their face across the track. It was really bad.
So sad.
Yep.
Okay. Oh man.
This, on the other hand,
yeah, this is a very California scene,
right?
For a couple of reasons. One, car looks pretty good. Car also looks like it's been baking in the sun for 40 years. Car is also a car that nobody else in the world owns. So, and in fact, looking at the location, it does say Livermore, which totally tracks.
Right. And I think inside the garage, trapped by these now 2 dead Saab cars, is probably 2 previous Saabs. There's like a 93 in there and like a, whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
he had like the 900. It died. I'm going to go to the Saab dealer and get myself the new version of this car. It's dead. I wonder what's on the street that he's actually driving. Corolla.
Well, I'm sure. Yeah, it's his wife's CRV. Yeah. I will say, if I were to get an old Saab, which is a big if. I mean, obviously the classic, then the 93, 96, that kind of stuff is all super cool. But if I were to get a real car, I think the 900 would probably be at the top of my list.
Yeah. Back in the day when I was doing car magazine stuff and I would drive those, I always really liked them. They're huge inside. They're just gigantic inside. They got really good visibility. Seats are fabulous. They're weird, not very fast, but okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you know when I get one.
Okay. All right.
Hold your breath.
I was just going to hold my breath.
Yeah. All right. Oh,
now we're getting
man. This is
Chevrolet
really
Ponta Buick.
Yeah. Oldsmo Buick, as they say. I have no idea. Tell us in the comments what variant of giant General Motors wagon this is.
Yeah. Oh man.
When
I was growing up, my parents had a series of these. They had the Pontiac version with a 455 would burst into flame one day. And that's what I was driving around a lot in high school for various reasons. And I was often I'm not proud of this. I would be so embarrassed by the car that I would park it around the street when I went to visit somebody. I'd go around the corner so nobody could see it. That doesn't speak well of me, but there you go.
This was my great uncle had a giant wagon like this. I think it was a Buick, but it was. I mean, he had it for his kids, which are one generation older than me. By the time I came around, these were about gone. Again, a car that everyone on the internet, if they just made cars like that again, then General Motors would be in fine shape. And no, they would not. But
I've driven some of these not that long ago. I mean, there is a bit of a collector following, and I've had a chance to drive, some good ones. They're almost undrivable. The idea that people were going down the road at 85 miles an hour with all of their children rolling around in the back is just absolutely terrifying. They're basically uncontrollable cars.
Oh man. Well, those were the days.
I like it. I might
Yeah.
need one of those.
Yeah. All right. And lastly for this week, we're back. This is
yeah.
just, it's the bad penny that that keeps
Yep.
turning up. I don't know whether it's a Cavalier or a Cobalt. I guess the caption says it's a Cavalier.
Yeah. I think that's right. But what difference does it make, really?
So, I mean, what year is this? This is late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So this is the period of time where
could be 2014.
Also possible.
Yeah.
Like the Honda Civic was legitimately a nice car. Like my sister had a 98 Honda Civic, which was, it was inexpensive. It was relatively basic, but it was well thought out. It was well screwed together. They had pride in their creation. They expected it to last a long time. They wanted people to enjoy using it. All things which are 100% not true for this horrible Cavalier.
On the other hand, what the Honda didn't have was an entire dashboard that was gray with gray, slightly puffy rubber buttons in it that all looked the same.
Yeah. So, well, that's also true.
Yeah.
I will say, God, we're going to get roasted in the comments by the Cavalier Jihad, but at some point they switched over to the Ecotec 4-cylinder. In these and Cobalts and everything else. And that engine has recently become a pretty common swap in various Lemons cars. The HPR race, there was a Miata that had the swap that won. And of course, the real racers were whining about, like, it has a big block swap. And it's like, it has a motor from a Cavalier. So, I think it's a smart choice. They're reasonably powerful, reasonably durable, and you can go down to any Napa or junkyard and there will be parts for such a thing. Although I will say there were 2 Miatas with this swap at the HPR race. One of them won the race overall. The other one was run by the college kids from CU Boulder. And they blew it up and they figured, okay, that's all right. We are geniuses. We picked this motor that is everywhere. They went down and got another one. And of course, it was like 1 year off and the bolts didn't line up. So there could be some flaws in that plan, but on paper, pretty sound.
Well, General Motors, will rarely make a good car, but will occasionally make a good motor.
That's right. The engineering department is far and away the best feature of General Motors. And if you can peel away the layers of the onion of terrible marketing and terrible product planning and terrible interiors that is above what's beneath, then maybe you've got something.
Although it's fascinating because isn't the room where they draw engines, isn't that just one wall away from the room where they draw transmissions? Because they're doing a really good job in one room and not such a good job in the other.
Well, I'm picturing the General Motors complex in Detroit being sort of like Detroit itself, where those 2 buildings are actually separated by 8 miles and in between is a bunch of abandoned stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, that could very well be. That could very well be. And to talk to each other, they like pick up the thing and they crank them.
It's like a submarine system of tubes. Well, that is the end of the list for this week. Jay, you've got the hooptiest, so you go first.
The Chevrolet Oldsmobile Buick Pontiac station wagon, 100%, no question. Hooptiest. If it were perfect, show ready, still hooptiest.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. This I had
pretty sure that's a Chevy.
Yeah, I had pretty strong I was leaning towards this for the Lemons build as well, but then you started talking about how uncontrollable they are. And, I thought that, on the one hand, I would love to see that in person. On the other hand, I don't want us to get sued out of existence because this thing came barreling out of control through the paddock, running over children as it went. So,
which would happen.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to stay away from that for the Lemons build. I'm going to go back to the car that we said we haven't seen yet, which is always a really point in the favor of a vehicle. So that would be the Maverick. I know a team that used to race Ford Capris, my friends. They've been talking about doing a Maverick because the Ford Capri is some weird European, stuff doesn't bolt on, whereas this is just like a Mustang 2 or whatever it is. So, but it's equally as dumb and goofy as a Capri. So they were threatening it. They haven't done it yet. The door is still open.
All right, I like it. I like it.
All right, so that'll do it. Keep posting to Instagram with the hashtag Lemons Car Spotting. We have gotten way more submissions than we can plow through, so we appreciate that. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
The little lip spoiler is really a nice touch, I think.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, it's a good-looking car, man. You know what? If like Ferrari designed that car, we would all revere it as a classic.